Meghan Markle's bizarre new PR stunt has just exposed the misery of that performing monkey previously known as Prince Harry. This was staged, the World Series celebration, alongside a clearly unimpressed Harry. Watch. Sorry about that screaming hyena. As Nancy Sidley posted, whenever my team wins, I immediately stop celebrating so I can set up my phone and record my boyfriend's reaction, even if he couldn't care less, because that's totally normal behaviour. Forget being in the moment. This is why every marriage proposal should be filmed. Always stop what you're doing and hit record. But then she added more seriously, I don't think Harry is mentally there anymore. Watch this. This has gone viral, of course. Big US accounts like Cat Turd writing thus so cringe and fake. Megyn Kelly adding this is the same woman who made sure she was photographed at Uvalde and filmed her bare feet casually up in the car as she drove by Diana's death tunnel. There is literally nothing she won't exploit for self-promotional reasons. And the Royal Brittany, well, so much to get into here, but first, I'm really glad that you acknowledged what has gone on in the UK, because we've been completely rocked over the weekend by this absolute slaughter on a train, a mass stabbing of 10 innocents. A man has now been charged, but this was all developing at the time where Meghan posted that shrieking. And to me, it was so uncaring. And exactly as you say, look, I know she's in America. I know she doesn't give a damn about the United Kingdom. But remember, her children remain in the line of succession. Her husband remains in the line of succession. She uses the royal titles. So I'm glad you mentioned that, because I found it particularly revolting on her part, actually. But can we just talk about the video itself? Because, Brittany, this was so clearly a setup. It was so clearly fake. These types of videos only work when there is a natural reaction. And there's just something that you can tell in your gut. Do you know what I mean? When it is something that's truly natural. Harry knew what was happening. Meghan knew what was happening. This was all planned. It was all for Instagram content. He clearly didn't want to go through with it. And I think she's been caught out yet again. Do you
I
agree?
agree 100%, Dan. And so sorry for the tragedy you guys experienced in the UK recently as well. But Meghan doing this sort of PR stunt, I mean, especially without any context, it's just like, even I, as an American, I don't watch the World Series, not that into baseball. I had no clue what she was celebrating in her initial post. And you actually could watch the video and say Harry's non reaction could mean that he has been watching them do this 3 or 4 times now so they can get it right. And of course, he's like, oh gosh, whatever, guys. Like at this point, he doesn't care. He's so checked out. But it's so ridiculous. Why do they even care that much? I mean, I just really even doubt Meghan Markle is that excited about the LA Dodgers winning. I just found the whole thing to be just so incredibly bizarre, such an incredibly weird move. And Meghan is not known for having any connection to baseball until last week. So, as a content creator, as an influencer, Meghan really needs to figure out what the heck her brand is, because it's definitely not shrieking at the top of her lungs with her friends over the LA Dodgers winning. I would imagine they got a good deal on a pair of shoes or something. That's when they jump up and down like that.
But everything is stunted now. Even the trick-or-treating, the so-called family outing was stunted, wasn't it? Royal Thoughts posted desperately thirsty Prince Harry and Meghan Markle and little children plastered all over the internet again. Brittany, what did you make of this?
Thought this was very interesting, Dan, because I mean, obviously, we know a lot. They do set up their paparazzi strolls. But at the same time, we also have an element of here of where I feel like they're interacting a bit more naturally rather than the overly forced PDA they usually engage in most of the time. It seems like Harry's drinking while they're walking around going trick-or-treating with the kids, and Meghan looks upset about something. They're letting the kids go ahead of them. Where's the security? I thought they needed 24/7 security, and they were wildly unsafe in the UK, and then their children are running like 20 plus feet ahead of them. So it's just sort of an interesting case, but Megan likes to create paparazzi stroll situations, but I'm just interested to know whether or not she knew this was happening or not, because it sort of reveals, I think, the realities behind the scene of this is a couple that I think is mostly unhappy, and their happiness is just a facade in front of the cameras.
The internet is buzzing after new claims surfaced that Meghan Markle's latest video appearance was completely staged. According to insiders, the entire setup, from lighting to reactions, was orchestrated for maximum PR impact. But while Meghan's team was allegedly busy crafting the perfect image, the fallout has left Prince Harry more isolated than ever. If these reports are true, this could be one of Meghan's most manipulative media moves yet.
And it wasn't the only social media blunder that Meghan Markle suffered over the weekend, because, of course, she had to delete one post, Brittany, because it was timed so terribly to go up at the time. Sorry, it was an Instagram post, I believe, to go up at the time where all of the news about Prince Andrew was developing, where she was looking incredibly happy. But as according to Taz wrote, I wouldn't be too smug, love, because, of course, it's coming for them next, Brittany. But again, like, this timing was just so off.
It really was. And of course, you can't really anticipate all the news, but I think it shows too that Harry and Meghan had no idea this was coming, that they were completely caught off guard by this move against Andrew as well. And so they didn't have, let's say, enough time, because maybe if they had better relations with Buckingham Palace, they maybe would have given them an hour or two warnings ahead of time. But right now they don't. So Meghan got caught flat-footed again in this brand. But at the same time, obviously, there's a lot of news. She has to contact somebody, I'm sure, to stop the post. But I think it does reflect an organization in terms of as ever that's very, very poorly run by Meghan. It's a poorly run business. It's sort of a mess behind the scenes, a disaster. It doesn't know what its identity is. It's all over the place. Things aren't moving. And so it's not a surprise that something as simple as making sure, oh, big news broke and it's about Andrew, might as well take this Instagram post down now, that they didn't even think about it. They didn't even have somebody who was like on it immediately. Goes again to show that there's a lot of disorganization behind the scenes of her company.
Oh, well, it's just a disaster, isn't it? Was never, as Lady Colin Campbell puts it. But there was another newsletter, Brittany, that went out over the weekend. Seasonal sips to warm the spirit. And then we got the new video. And this is the video that she had been promising, of course, in that Fortune interview when she's reinventing the wheel. You know, we don't need to do a Netflix series. Of course not, because I'm just going to do little short form content. And as Harry Meghan's spare put it, Meghan Markle draped in virginal white, as if trying to project an image of purity and innocence to the world, the picture of grace, virtue, and sincerity. Yet behind the carefully curated symbolism lies a very different reality. The angelic smile can't conceal the ambition, calculation, and drama that have followed her every move. This is all a performance, friends, a costume meant to disguise the chaos she so often leaves in her wake, proving that no amount of white fabric can wash away what's underneath the calculating evil wench that she is. And I did find that a very interesting take on the video, although I think probably what I found most funny, Brittany, is she's basically teaching us how to put a product in boiling water, and she thinks this is going to make her a lifestyle guru.
What's really funny, Dan, is that it's a one serving packet, I guess. You pay $16 and you have to use the entire thing, I guess, to get the aroma out or whatever. And it's just so basic and boring and not interesting at all. And what I find actually really fascinating about this as well is the choice of the soft focus, like the really, really hard soft focus here and all the soft lighting and everything. She's not in her kitchen again, like she wasn't on the show, like her actual kitchen. And this is so overproduced. I would bet she had 10 people working on this stupid video. Oh my gosh, this is not where social media is. Celebrities who do these overproduced things don't even get a decent amount of traction on social media because it's all about authenticity. And there's nothing less authentic than probably having an entire film crew there watching her boil water. Like, I think most people find that ridiculous. Most people find the serving sizes abysmal. And she says that you have to add all these things to like increase the flavor. I'm just thinking, well, you might need to add those things to actually give it flavor because maybe it's just not that flavorful. So you have to add the honey, you have to add the lemongrass and the cinnamon to actually get some flavor out of this thing. But it's just another example of how Meghan doesn't understand new social media, cannot give you authenticity to save her life. And she's actually technically using the same soft focus tactic that she did in March of 2024 when she actually launched American Riviera Orchard. So it's like she's going back in times, forwards in times, like she's all over the place with this brand. And that since she's doing it as ever, we can just basically 100% know that there is going to be no more With Love Meghan except for the holiday special.
Brittany, why does she just hate saying Christmas so much? Like, is this an American thing? Like, am I missing something here? Is holidays, is that because you've got Thanksgiving and Christmas, whereas in the United Kingdom, we just celebrate Christmas? Because to me, it feels like she is desperately trying to avoid using the word Christmas almost at any cost.
To the show.
Yeah,
But
that's
first-
actually a great question, Dan. So I know at least in the States, there was sort of a mood towards towards saying just the holidays to incorporate Hanukkah and Kwanzaa and to be more inclusive and everything.
So it's a woke
But there's
thing.
also yeah, so it's a woke thing. There's definitely been a pushback from it for people who say, I'm going to say Merry Christmas, not Happy Holidays. But I've noticed Harry and Meghan have definitely incorporated that into their, let's say, the card that they send out to people and those sorts of things. And for me, I don't understand if you celebrate Christmas, other people celebrate something else. They should be fine with you saying Merry Christmas or sharing Merry Christmas because that is what you're celebrating. And so I think it's sort of ridiculous to go with the Happy Holidays nonsense.
Yeah,
Yet.
I hate it.
According
really
to
hate-
sources close to production, Meghan's authentic moment was anything but. Every detail, from her words to her wardrobe, was carefully planned to project empathy and relatability. Critics say it's all part of a calculated strategy to rebrand Meghan as a solo media figure, separate from Harry, while keeping her name trending online. One insider even claimed, it wasn't a moment of vulnerability. It was a marketing stunt. While Meghan dominates headlines, Harry's been left out of the picture. Literally. Reports say he's been growing more withdrawn and disconnected from both Hollywood and his old royal circle. Friends claim he's miserable, lonely, and unsure where he fits in anymore.
I hate it. I
Meghan's
really hate it.
Mhm.
Okay. Brittany, let's get to the latest developments on Prince Andrew, or shall I say, the Andrew formerly known as Prince, now simply Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. I think the most desperate briefing we got over the weekend was from Prince Harry and Prince Harry's team, who leaked breathlessly to the Sun on Sunday newspaper that he backed the King's decision to strip Andrew of his titles and boot him out of Windsor Lodge. This was the reporting, and it was really interesting. It was very clear that Matt Wilkinson, the royal editor, had got this officially because there was no source quoting or anything like that, but it was written with total confidence. Prince Harry backs the King's decision to strip Andrew of his titles and boot him out of his royal lodge home. The Sun on Sunday understands. US-based Harry has been in contact with his dad and may have been in touch in recent days. He supports Charles ending Andrew's allowance, it is understood. Harry has made a point of keeping in close contact with the King since their short London meeting in September, and he remains close to Andrew's daughters, Beatrice and Eugenie. Well, to me, I was a bit like, Brittany, this is nuts. Like, who gives a damn whether Harry backs this decision? But what he was very clearly trying to do was align himself to the royal family, to his father, because I believe he's terrified that this is going to happen to him next.
Oh, he's 100% terrified. I think both him and Meghan were a bit quaking in their boots over the weekend. That could even explain their little bit of a tense Halloween walk around is because now they realize there is a risk there to them, that their titles may be stripped. Obviously, they haven't done the same things as Andrew, and Harry and Meghan's case is more complex, but I think it definitely deserves exploring what it means to be royal, how to deal with rogue royals. And Harry going, well, I back your move, Dad. I back your move. It's just an example of Harry trying to basically align himself with his dad, support his dad, what have you, so that he can prevent those sort of decisions from falling back on him. Because he's well aware, and Meghan's well aware, is they have nothing but their royal titles. Everything they have in their life is basically based around their royal titles and nothing else. And so if they can't keep those, what else are the two of them going to do? They don't really have anything. They don't have a good track record on Hollywood. Meghan basically just endlessly talks and gives very little results. And so you have a situation where Harry and Meghan are now trying to, I'm sure, figure out where things lie with them in terms of the monarchy. So it could even be a route for Harry to like, yeah, Pa, I agree. And then subtly trying to hint around as to, well, will this happen to me and my wife as well? I think it should, but that is going to be a process to go through, and we'll see where that ends up. Although I think if it's not Charles, it'll be William.
Yeah, indeed. There's also a lot of spin and counterspin going on in regards to William and Catherine's role in this. Abuse. So what's actually going on here, Brittany, and I'm just going to be very transparent about it, is that William's team, William's crew are concerned that he's almost looking too ruthless. And as I have previously reported, there are fears about Andrew's mental health, and were anything to happen, he doesn't want to be blamed for that. But what I don't do is I don't just parrot palace talking points. You get that a lot from the Royal Rota, and I thought it was hilarious that Emily Maitlis of the fake news agents, now she's the woman who conducted that interview with Prince Andrew in the first place, just got one call, clearly from Kensington Palace, and dialed back on all of her reporting previously. And Brittany, that's what I call client journalism, right? She gets one call and she completely reverses what she had previously been reported. Now, again, I'm just telling the truth. That's all that I care about, right? The truth. That's what matters here. William was the driving force behind this. A fortnight ago, Buckingham Palace believed that it was completely fine for Andrew to release his own statement. Remember, the statement was in his words, saying that he would voluntarily give up the Duke of York title, and Buckingham Palace hoped and believed that would be enough. It obviously wasn't enough, and William made clear that it wasn't going to be enough. Now, is William concerned about Andrew's mental health? Without any doubt. Of course he is. Anyone would be concerned, wouldn't they? I'm concerned, actually. We do not want another suicide here, but I think, Brittany, there's just a lot of dishonest reporting going on by client journalists who are trying to say, Charles had nerves of steel about this. The reality is, Brittany, he didn't. He bottled it in his first statement, maybe from a good place. I'm not even judging what Charles did, actually. But I just think there's a lot of misreporting going on here.
More. Meghan's publicity push seems to highlight her independence and his irrelevance. This could mark the beginning of the end for the Sussex partnership as a united front. Fans weren't fooled. Within hours, social media exploded with accusations that Meghan's touching moment was clearly rehearsed. Words like fake, staged, and calculated flooded the comment sections. Many are saying this latest stunt proves Meghan's not just chasing sympathy, she's manufacturing moments to manipulate the narrative in her favor. And the more she tries to appear authentic, the more people see right through it. This isn't new behavior. Meghan has long been accused of turning every moment into a photo op, from charity events to private conversations. Critics argue that it's all about maintaining her brand, no matter the emotional cost to those around her. But this time it's backfired, because in trying to look genuine, she's exposed just how manufactured her public image really is. If this
And
latest
Dan, as well, you could also read into this a little bit of the tension between Buckingham Palace and Kensington Palace, because Buckingham Palace wants more of it to be seen as Charles's decisive move here, rather than really William pushing it. And it's just, there's so many complications here because of the whole family dynamic. This is not like a company or even a political environment where somebody gets ousted. This is very much has family dynamics firmly involved here. And Charles did sort of tiptoe kind of this whole thing rather than being more decisive. I mean, Charles should have been more decisive from the beginning regarding Andrew, regarding Harry and Meghan as well. I feel like what we see a lot still from Buckingham Palace is a generally reactionary team. So that something comes out, then they react. When the pressure gets too big, then they react. I think they need basically a more proactive approach rather than just waiting for things to happen and then changing course. I think we see a bit of this with Andrew and with Harry and Meghan as well. And I think if Buckingham Palace was, I guess, a little bit more decisive about things, we might have sort of a better navigation path at this point. And, some of it does definitely come from the top there when it comes to Charles. And William, I'm sure, was looking at this whole thing going, you know, depending on what happens to my father, it's like, and Andrew is here. Andrew is still every year, it just gets worse and worse with him in many ways. It's like you just have to basically sever all ties. That's the only way forwards. And it's sad that it got to that point, but those were Andrew's decisions. He had made a series of very poor decisions over the past 30 years, and this is a result. And sometimes that's life. There are consequences to actions. Andrew has suffered them, and they should be extended in some cases to other royal family members as well. It's the only way the institution will survive.
Yeah, indeed. Brittany, just a quick word about Fergie, because there's been briefing and counter briefing over the weekend about whether she is standing by her former husband, Andrew. The Times reported on Saturday that Andrew quit the fight after losing the loyalty of his ex-wife. But Fergie's team then hit back the next day and said, no, she's absolutely staying loyal. What do you make of the truth here?
I mean, it's sort of hard to, let's say, suss out at this point. I mean, obviously, they have been close, and I think that's something admirable that they've been able to be divorced and actually stay close for the sake of their daughters. But I understand why Fergie needs to keep some of her distance. And yet at the same time, she's completely wrapped up in this. So I think a lot of this is just simply self preservation. And I find that to be quite sad because it's like you guys have basically created this scandal together. And so they should basically stand together. That way, maybe they can support each other through it. But I would not be surprised also as well that given their history, Sarah is completely and utterly willing to feed Andrew to the wolves if it maybe saves her a little bit. I don't know if he's willing to totally do the same, but that's sort of how I read the situation.
Brittany,
If
thank you.
this latest PR move is as staged as insiders claim, the long-term damage could be brutal. Meghan's credibility takes another hit, Harry's isolation deepens, and the cracks in their brand widen even more. What was meant to boost her reputation may end up pushing Harry and the public even further away. At this point, Meghan's image as a media mastermind might finally be catching up with her.